Oh, there's JJ. Mic check, mic check. Check, mic check. Okay, now we're good. There you see all the drivers lined up for qualifying. But here we go. We are live here for round 9 of XRS Mercury Cup season. I'm Fan2403. Unclear if I'll be joined by AK tonight. He's on standby. Don't know if he's going to exactly be here or not, so maybe he can come in later in the broadcast, or he won't be here at all, and I'll be soloing tonight. As everybody's getting loaded up and ready to go, we're here at Road America. We're here at the full circuit configuration, and this will be the first of 2 trips that we'll be making here at Road America. This being the first at the full circuit, and then the second being round 2 of the Mercury Cup Series playoffs here at the Road America East route. Essentially, imagine at the end of this straightaway, or at the end after this turn that they make here, which is turn 2, essentially connect this end of the straightaway all the way down to pretty much the second to last corner, and that is the East route. So it's the rectangle configuration, as a lot of people like to call it. So, we're here, we're running qualifying, we'll have the race stats posted up, and we'll see. Top speed so far achieved by Taurus IG down the long stretch at 177. And we'll set the lap times. Everyone's on their first lap. So here, really the opportunity to get the tires warmed up, really get yourself underway, and make sure that the pressures are right where you want them to be to set up for a good starter lap at lap 2, and then lap 3 and 4 are really your hot laps where you're going to push it as far as you can. Remember, qualifying rules for XRS determine that only clean laps will count. So even though during the race you're allowed to use runoff, you can't shortcut corners, but as long as you have 2 tires on at least a curbing that's part of the racing surface, doesn't need to be the Forza track regulations, but needs to be on the racing surface. You need to have at least 2 tires on there at all times during the race. But during qualifying, only clean laps will count, so that means you cannot break the Forza race regulations. After that, we will only score the clean laps for qualifying, and if all of your laps are dirty, then the fastest of those lap times in the dirty or unqualified section will be placed at the back of the field. Tonight, looks like we're going to have a bit of a packed crowd. Not all the way packed, though. We have 17 drivers. And so far, when they crossed the line there, Oracle, he was able to score first at a best lap time of Forza Europa at a 2:05. But currently, he scored in 9th. So that tells me that the lap was either dirtied, because Forza here on this ticker, it will go in order. .205, 206 is what we were seeing as the average qualifying times, or practice times, more so, that we're seeing in the actual practice lobby. But then, once people were running more hot laps, invalidated dirty lap times, we had Europa and Vanquish FRC be the fastest of that group. Vanquish, I don't believe, is actually in the qualifying lobby right now, but he is in the actual lobby, and he has elected to skip out on qualifying because of the amount of drivers. But he still will be in the race. So Vanquish FRC and Forza Europa were the two with the fastest lap times, and as expected, those two being some of the best drivers in this game as a whole, you can really expect for them to make a statement and be here to hopefully have some fun amongst themselves, because obviously they know the rest of the competition in the field not quite at their par, especially if they were both considered top 20, top 10 drivers even in the world for the Forza Racing Championship. And that was a DNF from Exiv. Now, he did say that he was having internet issues, that his internet cut out, and he was needing to race on a hotspot, so that could be what's going on here. U5A MVP goes to the top right now. Still saying he's marked as the leader, but Europa running a lap time around 7/10 quicker. So we're waiting for everybody to try and cross the line here. U5A MVP remains the leader. So not quite sure, because yeah, Europa at a 202.203 is scored in 10th right now. So that's showing me that he is indeed running dirty lap times and not running clean. So that'll leave it down to 16, the qualifying session remaining. Since it looked like it's just going to be me right now, anybody who's viewing, anybody who's watching, go ahead. You can put in the chat. We can have some more chat interactions for tonight, especially if it's just me. And hopefully we can have some more things to talk about throughout the broadcast other than what we're going to see tonight in the race. If anybody has questions about the new series that was actually just unveiled, it was unveiled on the XRS social media pages, also everybody in our Discord server, so it was an announcement that everybody got at the same time. We are going to have the XRS Euro Cup Series, so we will go back to the NASCAR Cup cars. We will go back to those cars. It will be a 6-week season. All at being at European tracks, and that in another aspect, it'll be at a way earlier start time. Those are the two aspects that makes it part of the European Series, because we encourage all drivers who are still a part of Forza Motorsport 7 and want to be a part of a growing league, then come over, XRS, NASCAR, Euro Cup Series. It's going to be a blast, going to be fun. We're going to race Saturdays. Saturdays at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, or noon Eastern Time, which translates to, I believe, about 4 to 5 p.m. GMT, or Greenwich Mean Time. Yeah, I believe that's what it translates to. So, roughly at the end of the middle of the day, RZX Cam, a DNF from him. There we go. Now Forza Europa. Just realized now he takes the top spot over MVP. Europa in a much better car than what he was in the Indy GP, where he won that race. He was able to win that race after trying to figure out this car a lot. He had literally joined into the server probably not even a few minutes, handful of minutes before the actual race began for Indy GP. But he came in, ran about half the race, and then at the second half of that race, that's where he really found his click, and he was able to get ahead and had a good fight with MVP with about 10 to go. But then after then, that's all she wrote. So cars are all on their last qualifying laps. So it looks like this fight will really come out. We see JJ Reds with a 203. RZX JJ Reds making his first XRS start tonight. We have a lot of drivers in here that are making either first career starts or coming back from recent career starts. Being dubbed the Road Course Ringer Group. Being Europa, Forza Europa, Vanquish FRC. You have SSR Mayhem. He was in the booth. He joined us twice earlier this season, excuse me. This qualifying is getting wrapped up. Let's back out. But SSR Mayhem, he joined us. See, there you see, Vanquish was spectating right there in the lobby. So now we have 20 out of the 24 that we can set. Well, really 19 if you disinclude me. Let's take a rundown here. So everyone's wrapping up. Got Tomato Drifts here tonight. Sly the Uberman. Panda, he's making a start tonight. It has been a while since he made a start. I think he started the first race of the season, but then, even then, he missed qualifying. He missed out on qualifying, and then he might have attempted a second time, but he's also missed qualifying. So in reality, here tonight, making his return to the Mercury Cup Series. RPM Assassin here. Vanquish. Smokey Eunuch back in his Hooters car. GNMX Culture. FME Sports. Rough Rabbit. RZX U5A MVP. Shady Phonic. Don't know what the game did there. And it's going to probably do it every time again. Tauros IG. Here we have RZX Cam. SSR Mayhem. Forza Europa. STG Oracle. And as we pointed out, RZX JJ Reds. Smiley's here. And then Exuv. Those are all the drivers that we have in the lobby. So let's take a look at previous race results. Forza Europa. Sorry for the distraction there. $202,447. MVP 202,628. JJ Reds a 203,803. Oracle a 203,876. Tomato Drifts a 203,737. Tauros with a 204,797. Rough Rabbit a 204,593. SSR Mayhem a 204,346. Sly running a 204,783. So it looks like JJ will actually be scored at the back of the field because he ran a top 3 lap time, but it was invalidated, so that lap time will not count. Panda 206,738. Smokey a 206,851. RPM Assassin a 208,401. Shady Phonic a 207,884. Culture with 206,674. FM a 211,910. And then Exif and Cam, they DNF'd, but Exif was able to run a 209,158, and Cam was able to run a 207.995. 31 laps, the distance to be run tonight, obviously with the one pace lap, so in reality 30 laps of racing to be ran tonight. As a lot of Mercury Cougar races have been this season, is expected to be a one-stop race tonight. Tires sort of going to be a factor if you pit early on, meaning you're going to rely on having good fuel to the end, or you can split it right down the middle, have solid tires in both runs, so do kind of a 15 and 15 lap run. But it being one stop, you cannot miss that opportunity, and that will be the only opportunity to either gain or lose time in the grid. Waiting everybody to get lined up and readied up, and also for the grid order to be completely set and full. So should be fairly interesting. Europa and MVP keeping up with each other. I believe Vanquish, when he was running in practice, Europa, he actually hit a faster lap time here in qualifying than what he did in practice in terms of his clean lap times. And then Vanquish, he was able to hit a faster lap than that. He was able to get very close to those 2:01 lap time bracket. But every single time that he ran that lap, it was dirty. So we don't even know what Europa is going to be able to run if he's going to go off course. Try to use a little bit of that runoff to his advantage. So this might be some good racing. Overall lap times, you see the drop off here. Slowly, you see everybody. A lot of people are in different time brackets. So Europa, MVP, and Vanquish, you can expect them to be in the 202 plus bracket. Looks like JJ Reds, Oracle, Tomato. They're going to be in that 203 second bracket. Maybe Mayhem, but right now Mayhem running in the 204 second bracket. Along with Tauros IG, Rough Rabbit, Sly. Anybody back? No. So they're all in the 204 second bracket. I'm noticing nobody in the 205, so that's actually interesting. That we had a handful of drivers in the 205 second bracket. Subsonic in the chat, 201, glad I'm not racing, I'm running 210s. Well, Sub, there's only 17 drivers, buddy, or 18 drivers technically. So you could have started tonight, and you would have been competing with FM Esports. See, FM Esports running a 211 910. So if you're running 210s, then you have somebody to compete with if you would have raced tonight. Subsonic always in good spirits, even though not having the best of speed. Traveling. Ah, okay. Well, safe travels, and thank you for tuning in. We'll see here. We're still waiting on a handful of people to get readied up. See, Tomato not quite ready. Smokey just readied up. MVP not quite readied up. What else we got down here? RZX Cam, Mayhem, and Smiley. They're all needing to ready up. So once we get everybody readied up and ready to go, then we will be ready to run some laps here at Road America. Thing is about Road America, the circuit is longer than people think. It's a 4.05 mile circuit. So lap times here, and most cars you're going to see at right around that 2-minute plus second bracket, especially with these types of cars, the Cougars and the Cup cars. The Cougars are actually slightly faster. Rough Rabbit. The Mercury Cougars are actually slightly faster than the NASCAR Cup cars here, as the launch countdown is getting underway. So the lap times are overall faster. There's the starting order, Europa, MVP, and like we said, JJ, you see him being placed all the way back in 15th position. In case you're missing the qualifying order there, let's go over it real quick as the drivers get ready to launch for their pace lap. So Forza Europa on pole and RZX U5A MVP making up row 1. Row 2 will be Tomato Drifts and STG Oracle. Row 3 will be SSR Mayhem and Rough Rabbit. Row 4 will be Tauros IG and JDMX Culture. Row 5 will be Panda and Smokey Eunuch. Row 6 will be Shady Phonic and RPM Assassin. Row 7 will be FM Esports and Exiv. Row 8 will be RZX JJ Reds and Sly the Uberman. And I believe there was a lobby error, which is why everybody is backing out. So obviously there was some sort of lobby error there, but let's keep going through the order here. Row 9 will be RZX Cam and Vanquish FRC. And finally, in the last row, is Smiley is here by himself. So 19 cars looking like they're going to start tonight. Oh, and it was actually a DC from Exiv. Yeah, so it looks like we had him DC. So that just falls under the lag out rule. If anybody lags out under the pace lap, then we will back out for them and attempt to get them back in and restart the race. But the second we're green, then the lag out rule is still into play, but then more people would then need to lag out. In this case, I believe for above 16 drivers in a race, it would need to be 6 or more drivers would need to lag out in order to restart the race. Oh, we already read you the qualifying order. And there it is again for the second time. Forza logo loading. So here at Road America is known to be one of the more technical circuits in this game in Forza Motorsport 7. With Road America, you have a very fast and sweeping Sector 1. But then after Sector 1, what you're going to end up with is you go into a very small, nitpicky, technical Sector 2, and then afterwards you're going to have just a smooth steering Sector 3. Sector 3 can be a huge make or break in your lap time, because most people tend to run faster in Sectors 1, maybe even Sector 2, but Sector 3 is where a lot of people tend to make or break their lap times. And that could be where we see a lot of technical errors made by drivers. What is going on with the lobby again? Is there an error made again? Indeed, there was. $19 out of 24, so it's looking like I believe Exiv is the one who keeps lagging out. I believe now we're gonna no longer back out, everybody getting readied up. So that's unfortunate. Gonna take a quick peek to see if it was Exiv. Yes, it was. So now we're down to 18 drivers, so unfortunately Exiv with an internet outage will be unable to start. He tried and made an attempt to race on his hotspot. And as we know, hotspots, especially with a game that's starting to become pretty much 6+ years old this year, yeah, it's going to be rough to try and race on that hotspot. So, unfortunate for him. Now, here we go with another attempt to try to get this race green and going. With the strategy tonight being a one-stop race, it's going to be a matter of where you see drivers make that one stop. You're safe in the race once you pit in the lap 10 to 12 range. So once we hit around laps, between laps 10 to 12, you're safe to the end, but you could obviously extend that further. You could pit all the way. The pit window here is technically all the way from lap 10 all the way to practically lap 20. So a big window, 10 laps, from when you want to make your stop, whether if you want to do one long stint all the way to the end, and then only go into pit road once for a quick refuel and tires, or pit early, and then you don't really need to worry about the rest of the race. So it's all going to rely on the race pace and tempo, going to rely on whether if there are a lot of cautions for tonight, or maybe, who knows, maybe the race could go green all the way to the end. It has happened before in the past. It happened at Monza in Season 21 of the XRS Cup Series. Monza went, we ran the short configuration, and that race went green all the way to the end. There wasn't a single caution that happened in that race. So we will see how the flow goes tonight. Now, we can expect, obviously, Vanquish being in 17th. Who knows, maybe at the end of the first lap, we could expect him to be all the way up at the front already. And then everybody else, what could we expect out of them tonight? The points going to be fairly interesting tonight. Because the points of what we're looking at so far, it is very close at the cut line. So FM Esports and Smokey Unic, there's only 2-point gap separating them. Only a 2-point gap separating 8th and 9th. Now, there will be the wild card driver. That's something we haven't really talked about much this season. There will be a 9th playoff driver, but remember the qualifications. They're strict. You need to be able to race at least, what was that? Be able to race at least 50% of the regular season starts. You need to have a win, and you need to be top 18 in the standings. And as of right now, I believe only Dawson will be the only one eligible at the moment, because he got the win in the Indy Throwback race. He would be the only one eligible if he makes more starts, or if FM drops out, being so close at the cut line. But U5A MVP, the points leader at 312. Rough Rabbit, second. JDMX Hawk in third, although we have heard from him that he has just elected to forfeit the season. And then Off-Road Hype, getting a season suspension this week as well. We'll talk more on that later. Here they come. Up the bridge all the way. Europa with control. Green flag is underway for the start of round 9 in XRS Mercury Cup racing. Europa taking a good, hard early lead over MVP. MVP following in second. Tomato Drifts following behind him, side by side with Oracle for third. Couple lockups from Panda. Also, a handful of other drivers in mid-pack on back. Europa taking charge with the lead already. The ride all the way back to JJ Reds in his first XRS start tonight. Trailing behind Coulter. And we'll have Vanquish FRC on his tail. Through the heavy braking of turn 5. He's able to smooth his way through. Rough Rabbit goes a little wide. Now Panda going to try and hold off JJ and Vanquish. These cluster of cars again in the heavy braking zone. JJ having the inside, trying to get the drive off. Panda's there, side by side. Vanquish on on the outside. He needs to take a really wide line around this corner. Now here comes the technical sector 3. This is where we'll see a lot of guys gain or lose a ton of time. This kink, run as fast as you can. JJ, he slipped up a little bit. Vanquish going to try and take advantage. Not quite there. And some good defending by JJ Reds. Panda running a little wide. He's going to lose 2-3 positions here. He drops all the way back in line behind Rough Rabbit. Going back up front. Forza Europa is going to lead lap 1 with no contest. He has a 7/10 of a second lead over RZXU5A MVP. Meanwhile, Tomato Drift's Oracle. They were teammates just a season ago. This season, not quite. But still, good buddies. Oracle, he said he put a lot of practice into tonight's race. We had an off weekend last week for 4th of July festivities for everybody involved. And Oracle, he said he took a lot of time because he knew the presence of some other drivers were going to be in here. They knew some fast people were coming. And Oracle, he took the time to get a lot of practice down so he could be prepared for tonight. As is our Mayhem, we're used to seeing this name in the booth, but not quite seeing him in the booth tonight. He's on track. Currently running in 5th. Ooh, runs a little wide there. Now Vanquish, after just 2 laps, has made his way up to 6th. And JJ, he's been following him. JJ has pretty much been sticking with him. JJ, we know he's able to run a 2:03 second time. Vanquish, based off his practice times, was able to get to the low 2:02 range, and even 2:01s. So very nice out of all these drivers. Let's take a look more further back. Right along with RZX Cam, currently running 15th, getting into the grass a little bit. Running with Smiley and Smokey. Smiley backing out of it. And looks like, so far, dead last FME Sports. And like we said, with the points being so close between him and Smokey, he's just hoping for some luck tonight. Maybe a couple lagouts so then the points can continuously get closer and closer. Vanquish has gotten around Mayhem, and he's now up to the top 5. Meanwhile, we have JJ in pursuit of Mayhem. And I'll try to get around. Pulled the track back real quick. Ooh, there was one car slow off the final corner there. Not sure if a caution will be called. So Europa pulled away from MVP. Then 3rd, 4th are together, being Oracle and Tomato. And then 5th through 7th is sort of close together. 8th, 9th, and 10th are close. And then 11th, 12th, really this whole group right here with Tauros and a handful of others, Assassin, Sly, all of them being here. Being in fairly close proximity to each other. Looks like that was Shady Phonic trying to make a move on Tauros. Not quite able to get it done. Riding along with Rough Rabbit, who was the initial leader of that grouping. Looked like he's pulling away just a little bit. Rough Rabbit, I will say, probably going to be one of those sleeper picks for playoff contention. Or not just playoff contention, just how they're going to run in the playoffs. Mainly because he got the win in Indianapolis, and then after that he's remained consistent. He's doing well in the point standings, and he can get himself into a solid position to be a real contender. I mean, he's running 2nd in the standings right now, so not much pressure on him on being able to perform well, especially with an over 70-point lead over the bottom driver in the playoffs. Whoa, there, 9th place. That was Panda. Got caught in the grass a little bit in the braking zone. Runs wide. Now needs to deal with Coulter. It's all over the back bumper. He's able to recover it, though. Culture, he should be able to catch up a little bit on the straightaways. Europa just cruising away from MVP. Then, if we look at who's in 5th, Vanquish, he's coming. There was just a big gap that he needed to be made. Right there, best lap at the top of your screen, a 2:01. So Vanquish, obviously the fastest car on track. Dives it in with Oracle. A little contact made between them. Vanquish, he should have the line here. He gets around. Now we'll see JJ. He's gotten up to 6. He got around Mayhem. So now Mayhem falling back to 7th. Still, everybody here running fairly competitive lap times amongst each other. And whoa, MVP losing some time. Tomato was able to get around MVP. So now Tomato up to 2nd, MVP to 3rd, but there you see Vanquish creeping up in 4th place. Here probably within the next lap as MVP goes for the move on Tomato for the move back, but with these two battling, that's just going to pull Vanquish in closer and closer, faster. Runs offline here, might attempt a dive bomb. We're going to watch from MVP, going to watch over on Vanquish. Gets at the brakes hard. Tomato runs a little wide, MVP through. Here on shifting, Vanquish able to do a little bit better than MVP. Side by side into the heavy zone. Vanquish with the preferred entry. MVP going around that outside, trying to stay out of the grass. He's going to lose that spot. And now Vanquish up to 2nd position. Now he's going to be dealing with a slight rebuttal, but don't think is going to be much. And RZX Cam has DNF'd from the race. So unfortunate for Cam. So now it will be a chase to Europa, which is what Vanquish is going to be doing. Although it might take him a while because they were running very close lap times. So Vanquish, he's able to get around the other guys with ease because he's running 4-5 seconds faster than them. But Europa, he wasn't running 4 or 5 seconds faster than Europa. He was running a handful of tenths faster than Europa. So that should make it to where we might make it all the way to the first round of pit stops. Once again, we're going to pull up the track map here, and then you see the gap. Let's actually go up to Vanquish. And you see the gap, around a 5-second gap right now. And if Vanquish is only able to get a couple tenths out of that per lap, then it's going to be a while before he can get up to Europa. The field fairly spread out. And somebody got into the tire barriers there at the exit of turn 1. Them being splattered all over the place. Panda and Culture, they've been probably the closest cars to each other on track. Less than a second separating them. Panda, he made a mistake earlier, and that's what's kept Culture close. But it looks like Culture's making a handful of mistakes himself. assassin, Smoky Eunuch behind him. Running fairly okay. Rough Rabbit so far just holding on, running his top 10s. Like we said, for the point situation for him, not much. He already has a 70-point gap over the top of the cut line, or the cut line pretty much. More than 70-point gap, so not much that he needs to worry about here. But after this race, at the way that the pace is running at, with Smoky running in 13th, that will make it to where he's probably going to surpass FM in the point standings here after this race. And then after this race, he'll be next week. Oh, Smoky into the wall with Toros behind him, running a little wide. That was the very technical portion of it. I don't believe he got damage from that. And indeed, he did not. He did not gain any damage from it, not even cosmetic body damage. Smoky will look at Toros as well. Oh, Toros off track. And he has a lot of cosmetic damage, but no core damage to the car. So steering, engine, clutch, transmission, driveline, that's all 0%. Running back up front to MVP, we will see if a yellow will be called for Toros going off. He had cosmetic damage, not core damage. But that would still be a car off the course. And we see Toros at the top, was able to make his way to pit road. Now he goes all the way the last, making his repairs. Now Europa was already across the line, making his way down to, I believe this is what they call Canada corner. So we're going to see after Toros going to pit road whether if a yellow will be called or not. The caution rules for yellow dictate that Europa, once he crosses the line, he slows down, and everybody races back to the line. Oh, and he's still going full speed. So a 201.729 and a 206. So just a little under a second faster is what Vanquish is able to run. Don't know if he's running that consistently, so let's take a look at the lap times on the board, see what times everybody is running. Oh, Panda and Culture, they're in the 205s, Smiley in the 205s. Go back to 9th place, Sly, currently running on his own. Yeah, a lot of drivers now running 205s for the race. FM, a 209.983. And Toros says he ran a 259, but that was because of the pit stops. Culture running really wide over on Panda. These two, they've been battling pretty much the entire time. Been really close to each other on speed. And Panda, he's held off Culture right now. Both of these drivers said they didn't really practice for this race. The only time that they got practice in was the practice lobby that was ran prior to the race. So both of these drivers haven't gotten much practice on this track. Both of them going wide at the end. Culture trying to get around him on that kink. So far, Panda runs a little bit wider. Gets caught in the grass. See under braking. Panda, nope, does not go for the dive. He's going to be able to hold past him. These two, they've been having a good battle so far here on track. Really got to be patient with the throttle. Culture defending the inside, but under shifting, Panda with a huge run. Able to get around Culture with ease. But now here, turn one. No move really to be made there, but if Panda goes wide like that, that leaves Culture with a better line here. Contact made, he goes a little bit wide. And there is that. They were both running really hard and battling. Culture, he was barely able to get a bumper in with Panda. So now the pit window is starting to open up. And let's take a look, as now they're battling side by side again. I mean, fuel, tires, both relatively okay, but if you pit now, then you should be okay till the end of the race. But is it a little too early to pit? I believe it's a little too early to go down to pit road. Because pit road, especially being one stop, that's where you want to gain time. You don't want to lose time on the pit lane. You want to gain time. And right now, pitting within now or even the next lap, I feel like you're not quite gaining a lot of time. Oh, Shady Phonic a DNF. So that's technically 3 DNFs if you include exivs, but only 2 in-race DNFs. And then we had the 2 restart attempts for exiv. And Tomato is just really pulling away from Oracle. See JJ in the background. Kind of has pulled a gap on Mayhem. There you see Mayhem in the back, the red car. And he's slowly catching on Tomato. Hold on. Did Tomato make a mistake? And now Oracle's up to 4th. Yeah. Tomato made a mistake. Of course, right when we don't catch it on the stream. A driver makes a mistake and then another person gets around. Looks like Vanquish now has gotten that 5-second gap down to a 2-second gap. Just over 2 seconds. Now Europa definitely getting, or Vanquish definitely getting closer and closer to Europa. And the straightaway pulls away a little bit to a 3-second gap. And gonna be curious about Vanquish's tires and fuel. So his tires are actually worn way less than what we were looking at Panda earlier. Panda, practically almost all of his tires, especially the 2 fronts, they were both at above 40%. Here, Vanquish, his front left is just at above 40% now, 41%. Meanwhile, his front right hasn't even reached 40% yet. It's close. It's at 39. Their fuel will probably look the same. So the tires is what really can separate the difference between one driver to another. And Vanquish having way less worn tires. Obviously, he's not kicking them up too much. He's not digging in and driving too deep. He's just cruising. Cruising at a very fast speed. We'll go back to MVP. Kind of in a little island of his own. There you see, he's kind of running by himself. Vanquish, he's in pursuit of Europa. But then MVP's kind of running by himself here. Oracle, running in fourth after the mistake from Tomato. JJ looks like he's slowly starting to make up some ground on Tomato. Then we have Mayhem in seventh. Rough Rabbit eighth. Them having quite a distance from each other. Then Panda ninth, Culture 10th. They keep flipping around in position. Smokey in 11th. Assassin in 12th. This looks like the biggest cluster of cars that are close to each other as of right now. Sly running by himself, Smiley by himself, FM by himself, and Toros, the last car in the lobby right now, also running by himself, and he's going to have Europa catching him here in a handful of laps, maybe at the end of this lap. So now we're going to watch JJ as he's now getting into distance, getting into striking range here. If Tomato, he keeps making mistakes, which that's what it looks like. It looks like Tomato, he ran a little bit wide, saw a little bit of grass kick up. So if Tomato is making those handful of small mistakes here on the longer run, obviously JJ is going to take advantage of that in his first career start for XRS. What does his back bumper say? Don't be it. By the way, all of these schemes were made by SSR Mayhem. If y'all in chat are curious, as the Forza logos popped up, don't know if another driver is lagged out. And indeed, Toros might have been a rage quit, but so. But yeah. Back to this, so unfortunate for Toros. So, here, this car, this was made by Mayhem. This car was made by Mayhem. This car was made by Mayhem. I believe you should be seeing the trend here in comparison to, I'll show you some other cars in the field. So we showed you JJ's, let's show you Mayhem's car, which I believe was made by himself. Yep, just a red car. So I hope you see the pattern that's happening. Then we'll show you at a handful of cars. I know FM Esports made this car for Smokey. Oh, Smokey to pit road. I believe he's the first car into pit road. So that's actually interesting. We go to Smokey and then he's the first car into the pit lane. Then we can look at FM's Kevin Harvick inspired car. I know he made this car. So now with Smokey going to pit road and the pit window then beginning to open up, it'll be interesting to see. I turned it off. It'll be interesting to see what drivers now elect to go into pit road. So we'll watch along with Europa Looks like he does not elect to go in. Vanquish does not elect to go in. MVP coming off that final corner. He does not go in. Oracle does not go in. Tomato not going in. And JJ electing not to go in. JJ's going to have a run here down this long front straightaway. Here they come, turn one. JJ got a good run there off of the exit of one. Gets hard into the braking in turn two. Tomato trying the crossover. And under shifting, not really able to get it done. Not sure if Tomato's trying to use too much clutch when he's upshifting, or if one of them is using a manual with no clutch transmission. So nobody else looking like they went into pit road that time. So Smokey might have pitted really early. Because the next lap, nobody went in. And if Smokey is 2 laps, going to be at the end of the race, 2 laps on an older strategy, JJ goes wide! Hits a sign even, Tomato catching right back up. Luckily, he's able to recuperate enough of his momentum where it's not going to look like he's going to lose the spot at all. Now going further ahead. MVP looking like he went into pit road. Yep. So MVP elected to head into the pit lane. There's another car following him. It looks like it's Rough Rabbit. So now drivers are starting to make their stops. And it looks like they're making their stops because this is the halfway mark of the race. So we were curious, wondering if that's what people were going to run, if people were going to just run it right in the middle, split the race in 2 equal stints. Or if they're going to stretch it out as long as they can, or short pit as much as they can. 2 more cars into the pit lane. Actually, that's Rough Rabbit exiting, and then it looks like RPM Assassin in the pit lane. No, that was the ticker trying to catch up with Forza. Might be Panda. There we go. So Panda into pit road. So now we're going to go back with Europa, who's on the backstretch. And we're going to see if these guys are going to follow on with a lot of the other drivers heading into pit road. They have pulled away a big gap going all the way back to Oracle. Look at this gap. Oracle's the highlighted blue dot, and then Europa's the leader in the final corner, and Oracle's just in the middle of the backstretch. So really far ahead. And are both of them going to stay out? Indeed they are. Both of them going to stay out, so maybe a little bit longer for Europa and Vanquish. And we can look at their car information here. Fuel, about 1/3 of the tank left. And then tires, Europa has 61.5% on that front left. And that's going to make it to where he's probably going to have just a handful of laps remaining on that tire before it gets above 70%. Above 70%, that's where the performance of your car is actually affected. It's pretty much all placebo when your tires are worn in this game. Because Forza 7 physics make it to where your tires, they don't really wear that much until past 70%, past 70%, now there's actually performance handling, and then past 90%, the car is borderline not drivable. You're going to be losing so much speed, so much time, it's not going to be even worth your time to try and keep up with it. So Vanquish to just over a second to Europa. And the pit cycle, that's really going to make it interesting with these two then being on fresh tires. Because I'm assuming that they're going to be pitting at the same time. Assuming that Europa and Vanquish are most likely going to elect to pit together. Whether it be Vanquish reacting to Europa pitting. I don't think I would see Vanquish staying a lap out. Or trying to pit a lap early. And we'll see, Europa goes into pit road. And Vanquish will stay out. Okay, so now Vanquish, he knows that he was running lap times a tad bit faster. So he's going to probably push for a good half lap to a full lap here. Run as fast as he can, so then he can make his pit stop. That'll make it to where by the time Europa's out of pit road, and by the time Vanquish makes his pit stop, and they both come out, multiple drivers into pit road, not just Europa, but also Oracle. Looks like JJ Reds also went into pit road as well. So now that leaves it to where Tomato Drifts is going to take over the second spot. With Europa only going to be falling back to third here, so that just shows you the gap that they had. The Europa was the leader, and he's only going to fall back to third position. And Vanquish, he is not even on the backstretch yet, while Europa is going to be right at the exit, or the start, of Sector 2. So now Vanquish has made his way to the backstretch. Europa's still holding on strong. So we'll see how much time Vanquish is going to lose going into pit road. And we'll see. Tomato Drifts. Has he made his pit stop already? Quick peek. He has not. So Tomato Drifts will be going into pit road. We'll see if he actually goes in this time with Vanquish. They receive Vanquish on the front stretch. And there he goes into pit road. So into pit road. Tomato will catch him. Most likely. And it's going to... It could be close. Vanquish might come out just behind Europa. There we go. Vanquish starting to move to the exit. Tomato pits in with him. Now here they come. Vanquish is about to be at the pit exit. And there you see him. Vanquish exiting off the pit road. Europa coming at full speed. Europa still just ahead of Vanquish. Vanquish not able to gain time in the pit lane. But now he's going to have around 2 corners to warm up his tires, and then he can be at optimal pace. So Vanquish with the right idea, I thought it was either going to be them pitting together or Vanquish staying out one more lap. There was no way that Vanquish was going to try and pit before Europa. But now with them running this close, it's going to be a fight all the way to the end. Now for sure Vanquish probably has his tires at that optimal range, because it doesn't take that long to heat up the tires in Forza. Meanwhile, MVP will retain third. And we'll see if Oracle is anywhere near him. That's looking like a no. Yeah, MVP pretty far ahead. So he would need to start making mistake after mistake, or if a caution comes out, to regroup the field. That could make this race interesting, with Europa and Vanquish going to be running a heck of a race, them side by side with each other. Lap traffic going to be approaching up ahead. That's FME Sports. Was already almost a lap down at one point, or he was a lap down early in the race, but after the pit cycles, he's barely hanging on to the lead lap. And FN pulls out of the way wide, allows Europa and Vanquish just to go on by. Now Europa running in the 2017 bracket, but Vanquish running in the 2016 bracket. Or just a tad bit faster, I believe. Let's look at the race statistics. 2014. So 201449, and Europa's in the 2017s. These two running so close in lap times, and the next time by it will be 10 laps to go in the race. These two running this close with each other, pit stops already being made. The only way I can see a huge change in the outcome of this race is if a caution comes out and these guys are going to get regrouped. The caution cutoff is going to be 4 laps from the end. That's going to be around lap 27. AMS custom dips. Tommy will do a goat move for the lead. Well, we'll see. He's catching up on Europa's bumper. Right here through a sweeping final corner. Vanquish really trying to undercut, try to get the power down on the front stretch. Ride with Vanquish. Have a bumper all the way, quarter side by side here in the turn 1. Both of them heavy under the braking. Europa trying to power on the outside, not quite able to get it done. Vanquish able to power through to the lead, but Europa, what will he do? Turn 2. Still holding on strong. Them running so close in lap times, you never know. Europa might be able to put up a really good fight. Under heavy braking, Vanquish looked more stable that time. And that will leave Vanquish in a better position here. Now Vanquish running a 2015, 2014s. His best lap so far. Europa, I'm thinking he's not quite there in terms of his pace. He's still probably a 10th or 2 off of what Vanquish is able to run. Reality out of these two drivers is a matter of not making a mistake, being consistent, and if Europa is able to get that much more out of the car. It's going to be a game of momentum, especially amongst these two being very fast. Being some of the fastest drivers of Forza going at it in XRS. Neither one of these drivers are going to be eligible for playoff contention because Vanquish, this is his first start this season, and Europa, this is his second start this season. So not much in terms of eligibility from them, and considering after this race we only have one race to go before the playoffs. That time, Europa looked a little smoother on exit, and you can kind of tell when these guys are really able to put the power down, really able to glide around with the car. I want the car to look more like a glider than a machine that's bouncing around all over the place. That's what's going to allow you to keep your momentum. See there, Vanquish got in the corner deep, but Europa looked like he got a better corner entry. See, Vanquish running a little wide there. He clipped the grass just a tad bit. And Europa might be a little bit faster here on the backstretch. Vanquish last lap ran a 2:02.194. So Europa, he's pushing it here. He's definitely pushing it further. These two having a great battle so far. These two will put multiple laps down instantly. Most likely, yes. We'll go with that. Europa trying to get a nose down to driver's right of Vanquish, not quite able to be there. And under braking, Europa, he's going to be patient, not going to try and go for that dive. Europa's really pushing Vanquish hard here. He ran wide into the grass and corner entry. Just trying to get as much of an arc to the corner that he can. Because at this point, like we said, consistency is key for both of these drivers. Whoa! Little lockup from Europa. That's going to cost him a couple tenths. But can he make that gap back up? I believe there Europa got into the corner a little too hot, and he didn't want to get into the back of Vanquish, so he just went to that little runoff past a curb to the right. So then he wouldn't have to necessarily bump into Vanquish. So now that's going to leave about a second gap. And with the amount of laps remaining, Europa really needs to not make a mistake, as he does make a mistake. Goes off wide, right past the kink on the backstretch here for Sector 3. And so now Europa needs to work overtime if he wants to have a chance to get back at Vanquish, or if a caution comes out. Which, if we look at track map, just to see the overall spread of the field, these two are the closest to each other. Everybody else is separated. You see two cars actually pretty close to each other right here. So that's Smiley and Assassin. Those are practically the two closest cars to each other, other than Vanquish and Europa. So with the field being this spread out, I don't see a caution likely, especially if only one can be called in the next handful of laps before the cutoff. Because once we hit the cutoff, this race is over. Like, this race is pretty much over. It's going to be all on Europa. There is a car on pit lane. That's FM. FM is in the pit lane. I don't know if FM got damage and needed to make his another stop. Because I believe FM, after that pit cycle, he already went out of pit road. We will see. FM went into the pit lane while these guys were in the middle of Sector 2. So they were pretty much midway through the lap. And we will find out when they come to the front stretch. Because usually Vanquish, he tends to slow down just a little bit. Culture into pit lane as well. Once again, not quite sure if these guys are making scheduled stops. I don't believe that they wouldn't be scheduled stops. I believe they would be pitting in for damage. So with Culture in the pit lane, that tells me that a caution could be coming. Or it could have been slight driver errors on both of them. Nope, they're both running at full speed still. There you see Vanquish 16 positions gained because he did not qualify. So not quite sure why FM and Culture went into the pit lane. Now they're both 14th and 15th. Vanquish last time running a 2:01.9. Europa, not quite sure what he's able to cook up and run. So when these two were side by side with each other, there were moments where Europa was really pushing it, but Vanquish showing off good defense and able to keep off the line with him. Sorry, got distracted on. So now there's a handful of laps remaining before we reach the caution cutoff. It's more and more looking like it's going to be all on Europa if he can get good rhythm and try to run down Vanquish. So again, these two looking like they're the closest to each other. MVP on his own little island in third place. MVP had a solid qualifying session. He's actually on to pit road. We need to see for what here. Whoa! MVP left the race. So MVP could not complete the race. He did mention at the start of the race that there was a possibility of him not completing the race. Not quite sure the reasoning. So the points leader going to end up finishing 15th after DNFs in this race. Well, not very good for him. Now that makes it to where RZX JJ Reds is going to take over the third position. He had a top 3 qualifying time, but he needed to start at the back. So JJ Reds being very fast, very competitive so far tonight. And Tomato Drifts and Oracle, they're going to be running 4th, 5th. Mayhem by himself in 6th. Rough Rabbit kind of hanging by himself in 7th. Sly, a lot of drivers kind of racing on their own right now. Sly's in 8th, Smokey's in 9th. There's a little bit of a gap to Panda, Smiley, Assassin. They're running close with each other. Culture running back at 13th after he needed to make his pit stop. Not quite sure why Culture needed to go into pit road. Not sure if he had sustained maybe some transmission damage and it got to a point where he needed to go in. So FM catching more and more breaks, being 1 lap down. Now FM is going to be scored in 14th position just by finishing the race, if he finishes the race. So, by the way, we have reached the caution cutoff. I'll make it to where no more cautions can be called, if I'm correct on the interval. So, Europa, after the mistake that he made, this is really going to cost him a chance that he had. Culture up ahead, going to be lap traffic. Last lap, Vanquish ran a 2:02. So we will see when Vanquish catches Culture. If Culture's just going to move out of the way, or is going to make Vanquish just try to easily get around him. There we go. Vanquish now clear of Culture. And now Culture will let Europa on by. Yeah, Europa. Oh, Smiley, he went off just ahead of them. I believe I saw Smiley's name. As we were saying, Europa has kind of stayed at a stalemate. Vanquish has pretty much ran consistent lap times, still in that 2:02 or sub 2:02 range in the 2:01s. They are at 2:02.1. Vanquish's tires looking good. None of them at risk of even going over 70% at the end of the race. Fuel looking perfect. So Smiley, he's on pit road. And don't tell me that's a DNF from Smiley. Let's go back to Europa. Remember, he pitted 1 lap before Vanquish, and you see that in the fuel and a little bit in the tires. And yes, that will be a DNF from Smiley. So wow. DNFs from both Smiley MVP, Toro, Shady, and Cam. And Exiv, he kept DNFing due to network connection issues. Both of these drivers have pretty much ran the best race that they have had so far. Only one mistake out of Europa, and that one mistake might cost him a chance at victory in this race. Missing a chance at Europa going back-to-back. Either way, Europa gained back-to-back podiums at the end of this one, and obviously this race will go caution-free. The last time we saw a caution-free race in XRS was season 21 Monza, and I believe that was an early race in the season. I believe that was race 7 out of that long 23 race season, so that was a very long season, but we're never going to get close to those numbers again for a season. Especially here, it gets cut down for the Cougars, a 15 race season, and then going to get cut down even more for the XRS Euro Cup Series that will be starting August 15th. And that's going to be a 6-week schedule. So now Panda, Smokey, them battling for 9th and 10th. They're going to become lap traffic. Assassin already. Europa and Vanquish try to get around. Or Vanquish is around Assassin, but not quite Europa yet. And not quite sure if either one of them are just going to move out of the way, Panda and Smokey, because they're battling for position. They're racing for position on track amongst themselves. And we don't have a blue flag rule. Vanquish going to give a little bump saying, I'm here and through. Whoa, a little wide there. As him and Smokey getting real close with each other. But now Panda running wide on the final corner. Under shifting, that's going to easily allow Vanquish to more get power out of his race car. White flag, 1 lap to go at Road America. Vanquish trying to work his way around lap traffic. Europa needing to work his way around lap traffic as well. Yeah, Panda and Smokey, they were fighting for position, so they didn't necessarily need to get out of the way. And Smokey ran wide there at the exit of turn 2. Vanquish running a near perfect race. Started in the back. He didn't quite qualify. Started in the back, made up some time all the way, worked his way up to 2nd before the pit cycle. And then while the pit cycle commenced, Vanquish stayed out 1 more lap after Europa. Stayed out 1 more lap, and that allowed Vanquish, even though Europa pulled out ahead of him at the exit of the pit lane, that allowed Vanquish to really able to push his car as much as he needed to keep Europa behind him once he got around him. So great defense from Vanquish as he's on the backstretch for the final time. And there you see Europa in the background. Europa running a fairly well done race for him. Qualified on the pole, so he'll get the bonus point for that. And then RZX JJ Red's going to round up the top 3. Tomato Drifts and Oracle in 4th and 5th. But here he comes, off the final corner and into the front stretch. Over the hill he goes. This will be XRS career win number 15. Vanquish FRC is able to get the win here at Road America for race 9. Forza Europa, back-to-back podiums. Able to score back-to-back podiums. And JJ Reds, as we said earlier, he still has a couple more corners to complete his race. But RZX JJ Reds, his first career start for XRS. He's been around the Forza race community for a long time. Now JJ, RZX JJ Reds. First career XRS podium. That will round up the top 3. Tomato and Oracle are able to hold on to 4th and 5th. SSR Mayhem making return to the car after being in the booth for 2 races this season. Able to finish off the day in 6th. Rough Rabbit gonna have a decent points day, maybe better than he thought, with MVP lagging out, and MVP was the points leader. So MVP, he's going to finish, probably score all the way back in 15th position, while Rough Rabbit's going to be scored in 7th. So Rough Rabbit, good points day overall for him, even though he wasn't quite up in the top 5. Sly the Uberman, he was kind of in his own island here in the front stretch. Was in his own island the whole race, had nobody really near him to battle or compete for. Panda still keeping the battle close between him and Assassin, who's able to get around Smokey. So Panda will hang on, get a top 10, finish in 9th. Assassin 10th, Smokey Eunuch in 11th. Then Culture will be 12th. Doesn't make a major mistake. And FM hangs on, is able to pretty much finish the end of the day. Doesn't matter if he is not able to finish the race in the end timer. He still was here at the end of the race. Gonna finish the day in 13th. But hey, he's gonna finish 13th out of the 19 drivers who attempted this race, which is not bad considering that he definitely had last place speed. So all those lag-outs going to help FM in those point standings, and Smokey only finishing 2 positions ahead of him. That's going to make it to where after this race, they might be tied in the point standings. So it's going to get real close for those point standings in the final cutoff race at Homestead Miami Speedway. Now, oh no, low bandwidth. I don't like that. So let's get the top 3 in here for an interview. There they are. All the way at the bottom. Try to get the top 3 in here for interview. I saw Vanquish, he joined. There's JJ Reds. And it looks like we will get a decline from Europa. And if we get a decline from Europa, we would go to 4th place, but 4th place is Tomato Drifts, and Tomato Drifts always declines his post-race. And we're not going to go to 5th, so that will leave it to where we will just get 3rd and 1st in tonight. Fortunately, Europa having needing to maintain homeostasis after the race. We'll leave it at that. So make sure you guys in here, you have your mic checked off on the party, and we will get post-race on the way. Oh, Vanquish, I know you probably had yours connected. And JJ, you able to get yours connected?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now we'll go on here. So RZX JJ Reds. To be honest, if I'm being very honest with you, JJ, I never thought I'd be giving this interview. Because tonight, I've seen you around. You have your league. You run JRL. I've seen you around in MEA. You help out a lot in there. And here, XRS, your name is unheard of. But here this week, you heard a couple drivers were having fun, and I don't know if Mayhem offered you that free paint scheme or not, but being able to make your first XRS start here tonight, running pretty fast. You had top 3 speed from practice, or not actually practice. You were not able to be there, but qualifying, you're able to have top 3 speed. But you got sent all the way to the back because of the invalidated lap time, but you made your way back up to the front. So throughout your whole race, you're able to make your way up to the front, got a top 3 out of it. What are your thoughts and takeaways from this race?
Yeah, I mean, it was a decent race. I mean, I didn't do a whole lot of battling except for like the first 5 laps going through the traffic, being sent to the back on the start because I did dirty all 4 of my laps, but it was fine. I really didn't care a whole lot about qualifying there, but if I did maybe have a top 5 quali start, I probably would have battled with Europa MVP and the other guys up there for the front for a little bit, but I knew I definitely wasn't going to win. Yeah, other than that, obviously battling with Oracle and Tomato there for 5th and 4th, and then eventually taking 3rd because I mean, I don't know what happened to MVP there late. But yeah, I mean, it was an alright race for me.
Yeah, but at least you were able to show the true meaning of it's not where you start, it's where you finish. But you're able to get out of there, survive at the end here, getting top 3 for you tonight. So good for you, good on your performance. I thought you performed very well on track, had some good battles. And so hopefully we see you around more often in XRS. So thank you for being here and racing tonight.
Mhm.
So now, fortunately, need to skip over Europa in 2nd position. And now we go straight to Vanquish. Vanquish, this is something common. Had to do about 14 times interviewing you for first place in your previous season. So now, XRS career win number 15. You come here. I'm sure you had very little practice, and you're able to dominate in the fashion that you like to do it. But not without a good fight with you in Europa for most of that race.
Yeah, we had a pretty good race. I was actually in the shower when the quali started. I didn't realize it started 5 minutes after. But yeah, it was a pretty good start. It was fun coming through the pack and trying to catch up to Europa. It's good.
There, for your pit strategy mid-race, I saw that I knew you were going to do one of two things. You were either going to pit with Europa, because you had started to catch him there at the end of that first stint, but then you elect to stay out one more lap after you saw him go in, And did you feel like that helped you in any sort of way when you guys started to battle with that 10 lap to go mark? Or was there no strategy there and you just wanted to try and beat him one-on-one?
I was actually gonna pit on the same lap he pitted because when you pit, you just want a good exit out of whatever turn because that's what matters for your pit stop to be fast is how fast you go into the pits. But yeah, kind of threw me off when he pitted, so I wasn't prepared not to pit because I was gonna make myself a drink, all this good stuff, and it didn't work out. But yeah, it's good. It helped with the fight. It made it fun. I mean, a lot of people saying a lot of things that it's boring or something. I don't know, but I thought it was fun.
Well, it looked like an overall good race from our perspective in the stream. So, good battle with you and Europa there at the end. So, yeah, thank you for showing up racing tonight. Hopefully you had some fun. And I don't know. We'll see when we'll see if you're gonna race at any point in time later on.
Yep. Thank you.
And that will wrap up post-race. Going to be pretty short, considering only 2 out of the 3. But like we said, Europa needing to go use the bathroom after the race. So we'll see if we can get an opinion on him, maybe for social medias, if he wants to do that or elect to do that. But for now, tonight, that will wrap up round 9. Or race 9 of the XRS regular season for the Mercury Cup Series. Only one more race to go, and with how the point situation is going to look like based off of prediction, it's going to be very close at the cut line between Smokey Unic and FM Esports. Only a handful of points separating them going into this race, and it's looking like they might enter into Miami in a tie. So that should be an interesting result for them next week. And then we'll see how much the point shot pulls around even more, with MVP DNFing tonight, going to be scored in 15th position. Rough Rabbit, the second place car in the standings, finishing 7th tonight. So probably going to make up a big gap there. And hopefully the battle can be close for the regular season championship. But tonight, Fantasy 403 will wrap up this broadcast, and we will see you hopefully next week at Miami.